I did say I had two films to talk about this evening, and that is absolutely true. The second film I'd like to talk about, I saw only tonight. I've been back about an hour, I think, now. I went with my friend again to see On the Basis of Sex. I saw this trailer sometime in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, as I said, I'm limitless now at the audience, so I've been going a lot more. And the beauty of having an unlimited pass is you will go and see films that perhaps you wouldn't have bothered to see. There's no getting away from it. Going to the cinema is expensive. It's a luxury, not a necessity. And there's lots of films that you kind of think look faintly interesting, but you're not willing to fork out the 10, 12, 15 quid, sell your kidney and your soul to go to the cinema a lot. When you are going limitless, or you work in a cinema as I used to, and you're not sort of handing over your hard-earned pounds quid for your cinema ticket, then you tend to see more films and be a bit more forgiving of them. However, in the case of On the Basis of Sex, I enjoyed it immensely, and it was well worth the ticket price had I paid it specifically for this film. It is directed by Mimi Leder, or Leder, not sure which, and it tells the story of an incredible woman who is very much still alive, and her name is Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Now, that name might mean something to you, it may not. If it doesn't, that really doesn't matter. She is, as I said, an incredible woman, and the changes she made to the US Constitution and to the law are phenomenal. But this really focuses on the earlier part of her career. Well, it starts with her attending Harvard Law. And again, even if your knowledge of American culture or politics or their legal system is limited, everyone knows that a Harvard Law degree is quite a coveted thing. And when Ruth began her career, or began her studies, it was in the mid to late 50s, and it was a time when women at Harvard Law was still quite a new thing. And you do see her get dismissed and lightly discriminated against because of her gender, but she's determined and she's bright, and she, plows on and goes through her studies. I don't want to give too much away. When I do these reviews, I tend to try and think about what did I see in the trailer, how much can I say, because you don't want to spoil it for a person. But if you're watching this thinking, well, I don't know anything about this film or this woman, what do I need to know? It's about a woman standing up for what's right, or really throwing a spotlight on what was wrong. It looks at how America had changed, was changing, needed to continue changing. So what she is best known for, this wonderful woman, was for highlighting the gender discrimination within the law. And her big sort of springboard to do that was when her husband, also a lawyer, played here by the very handsome and incredibly tall Armie Hammer, when he came across a case as a tax attorney, which is what he did for a living. He found a tax case that discriminated against an unmarried man. And that was her in, if you like, her way of taking on this system and really saying, look, changes need to be made here. But by coming at it from a perspective whereby a man had been discriminated against, it put a whole new twist on that sort of case. In the film, Ruth Ginsburg is played by our very own Felicity Jones, and she really does give a fantastic performance in this role. It's a lot to take on, and she has a lot she needs to convey: strength, dignity, frustration, anger. There's so much going on around this character, and I have to say Felicity Jones absolutely cracking in this part. What I like about her career is how varied it's been. Just lately, she was seen in Rogue One, in the Star Wars prequel a few years back. She's also in this. She's popping up in all manner of different things, and just a really, really interesting actress. Another thing I saw her in a couple of years ago was A Monster Calls. I may mention that in just a moment since it's just come back into my head. So she is absolutely fantastic in the lead role. As I said, Armie Hammer plays her very supportive and wonderful husband. And it's great to see the dynamic between them. They were obviously, the real deal when it comes to love. And it does say at the end of the film that he passed away in 2010, I believe. They were married for 56 years. And seeing a relationship from back then that was so balanced, that, where you do see him cook and you do see him help with the children and you do see him, support his wife and encourage his wife. And they really have a partnership. Their relationship is balanced, and it's only in the eyes of society and the law around them that don't view their relationship the same way. So it is a historical piece in a way. There's a really strong, do you know what, I was going to say girl power vibe, and then remember that it's 2019 and not 1996. But there really is that thing of standing up for what's right, irrespective of whether that relates to race or gender or whatever. It's about doing the right thing. It's about the law protecting the right people and not having people suffer because the law is outdated. And that was what she was really doing, was showing that, do you know what, America has changed, America needs to continue changing, and if that's going to happen, these laws need to be changed as well. So, attitudes need to be changed, and so do laws. So I thoroughly enjoyed this. I feel like I keep saying that since I started this project of reviewing films. I haven't actually been to see anything that I didn't like, but obviously inevitably at some point it will come. Tonight was not that night. Good performances all round. Stephen Root pops up. I always enjoy his work. The lovely Sam Waterston, who I know from Aaron Sorkin's The Newsroom, in that he plays the very lovable Charlie. His character here as Dean of Harvard Law was not quite so lovable, but he was still great in the part. So, yeah, don't be put off. Yes, there's legal jargon and that sort of thing, but it's certainly not a stuffy film. It's a very uplifting film, very inspirational, and I enjoyed it immensely. I mentioned Felicity Jones in A Monster Calls. I don't know how well that did cinematically, certainly critically. I know it was well received. If you get the chance to see it, see it. If you are a person who has been affected by cancer, and sadly today now most of us are in one way or another, I would proceed carefully. I actually read the book that A Monster Calls was based on, and it was written by a fantastic writer called Patrick Ness, but the original idea came from an Irish writer called Siobhan, I want to say O'Dowd. It could be Siobhan Dowd, and I apologise for not knowing whether it's one or t'other. But she had this idea for the story. She herself was suffering with cancer. She lost her battle, the treatment, the idea, the outline for the book was left, and Patrick Ness took it up and turned it into something quite incredible. If you're going to read it, make sure you buy the illustrated edition. I personally feel it shouldn't be allowed to be published without its illustrations because they're such a core part of the story. And then A Brave Soul took on that incredible, unique book and made it into a really, really impressive film. Felicity Jones stars in that and plays a great part. She was in The Theory of Everything. Things that she's done are now popping back into my head that failed me only moments ago when I was trying to remember what else I had seen her in. So she's a great actress. If you haven't seen A Monster Calls, I would definitely recommend that. On the Basis of Sex is a great one. It will definitely get you thinking. It's not perhaps date night fodder, unless you and your date then want to go on and argue about gender equality. If you're early stages of a new relationship, maybe this is how you might find out that your new partner is, a sexist pig, and you can bin them off there and then. Who knows? But it's definitely worth a watch. I liked it very much. I don't know what I'm seeing next, but when I see it, you guys will know about it because I'll come here and talk about it. So, good night from me. Big thumbs up for this weekend's films, and I will be back soon with some more reviews. Good night.